everybody, this is Sherry, and I'm doing a flamingo shaker card with from your next stamp. These are the Copic colors that I've used for the flamingo, and I will place them at the bottom of the screen for you to see. I'm going in here with my lightest, which is my RV11. Then I'll move up to my 15, then my 13, and then go back over everything with my 11. And I'm doing this as if my light source were in the lower left-hand corner. So my highlights will be on the bottom left, and my shadows, it'll be more darker on the upper right. So I'm trying to get better at explaining how I'm doing this so that I can share it with all of you. And so I'm using my Copics here to get her colored. And again, they are RV 11, 13, and 15. And I would like to thank Carol from One Happy Crafty Chick. She is the one who inspired these cards. She not only showed this stamp set, which is Your Next Stamp, Fred and Ginger, which I will put a link to in the description box, but she also showed the embellishments that I'm going to put in the shaker portion of this card, which you will see here in a little bit. I had never really thought about using anything other than sequins in my shaker packets, and after seeing her card I was so inspired. I was like, I've got to get some of those. So I was so happy when I was able to find them. And it really opened up a whole new possibility of what could go in my shakers. Not only can I cut the backs off of buttons and that it would lay flush and be in there to shake around because they've got adorable shaped buttons, but also your brads. Take and pop the back off. They usually pop off pretty easy. Here I am using YR 12 and 14 for the legs of my flamingo. And they usually pop off pretty easy, so you shouldn't have any trouble. And you could add those to your shakers because I know so many of us have those. And again, because I'm doing my light source from the lower left, the upper right would be darker. And anything behind, if you color it darker, automatically looks like it's in the back. So I went ahead and used my YR14 for the back leg. Now here I am with the W2, 1, and 0. Those are going to be my base colors. And then the BG000 is going to be the little bit of color that I put in the bird's eyes, just to lighten him up and kind of brighten him up and give him a little life to his face. Then I'm using my W's here at the bottom to just make a little shadow mark or something for my flamingo to stand on. And you see there at the beginning that my lines are not attached, and that's because I'm going to have a balloon in the flamingo's mouth that will be up above. But then I realized that the balloon and the bird's beak were so close together that there really would not be a gap. And here I am, I'm filling that in so that it's one solid line across instead of two separate ones. I start with my W2, I go to my W1, then I'm going to go to my W0, and then I go to my colorless blender and just go over it all. Here I use my Memento marker, and I just like to have the outline of my image real dark. And I think I need to re-ink my pad because they just were not as dark and as crisp as I like. So right here, I'm just going to go ahead and draw in the line or the string for my balloon. And I'm going to add a little bit of twine. Here I've got my black and white twine. And I've got mini glue dots. I love those things. If you do not have them, I highly recommend them. They're just awesome for little tiny embellishments and things that you want to add to your card. So I use a glue dot here and attach the black and white twine. I didn't have any solid black, which would have been better, but I figured it still worked and looked cute. Then I'm going to take I'm going to use my Gerda Steiner Happy Hoppy for my sentiment at the bottom of my cards. It says, "You are simply the best," and I use my VersaFine ink for that. Then I'm going to go here in a minute, which is what I'm doing right now, and I'm going to finally outline my image. And I don't know if that I needed to put more ink on my pad or if I just didn't stamp it well enough, but actually I did 5 of them and none of them stamped extremely crisp. And I really wanted the outline to be really bold and for this image. So I'm going over the edges and the lines of all of the entire stamped image. And I really like, it just seems to make it pop off the page and look more prominent, I guess. And on the card, and I love the way it looks. I absolutely love doing that, and I'm trying to get better and better, and I wish that my hand were not in the way so you all could see what I'm doing, but I think we all know how to follow a line, and I had to be directly over top of it or I would not have been able to go directly on the line. I'm not very coordinated when it comes to stuff like that. So right there, I'm getting ready to outline my legs, and you can see the difference in the legs from the flamingo's body, how much of a difference it makes to go over the edges with your marker. And I love the fact that that's a memento marker because it's Copic safe. So if I would have colored it over in advance or needed to cover in something that maybe didn't stamp right, it would not bleed with my markers. Now here I am, I used my 2.5 inch, 2.25 inch circle punch from Stampin' Up! To punch a hole in a piece of paper so that I could figure out where I needed to put my circle in for my shaker portion. And I doubled up my foam for this because to get it thick enough so that the flamingos would shake in the shaker pocket, I had to make the foam twice as thick. And I use my Tim Holtz scissors here because they're so much easier to use them to cut through that foam, especially after I doubled it up. And then I go ahead and I cut my circle out, and I'm going to get ready to place that on my card base. And there again is the extra piece because I had to do an extra portion to make it long enough to cover the card because the card is a 4x9, which is a business size card, or it would fit in a business size envelope. And there I'm using my art glitter glue, and I'm making sure that I go around that circle really well with my glue because I don't want anything coming out. So making sure that I get a good bond around that hole is super important. So there I'm pressing that on, and I'm going to get ready to put the bottom piece on. And again, I like the fact that I'm using my art glitter glue. It gives me a little time to move things around if I don't have it just right when I first put it down. And you will see here in a little bit when I show you the second card that I needed that little bit of time. And there is the thing that I used to cut out from it was like computer paper, and I wanted to show you that it was just super thin because I'm going to fill up my hole here with my embellishments and my sequins and my beads and all of that wonderful stuff, but I wanted something to go over top of the hole, but I didn't want anything thick because I didn't want to add any more bulk to my card. So a circle of computer paper was just perfect. And what I showed there was my seed beads. I really like putting them in because I think it makes a really cool sound. And here I've got some little heart confetti and whoops, some blue thick chunky glitter that I definitely should have tried to put in with my fingers instead of, trying to shake it in because I ended up putting in a bunch of it. But that's all right. The more the merrier, I guess. And I like that. I think I put a little too much stuff in, and I kind of wish I had only put one flamingo. So when I do these again, I will definitely try just one. I'm not sure which I'll like better. So if you think that you'd like the one flamingo in the shaker better, let me know what you think down in the description below or in the comments below. And there I am just gluing that circle on so that none of my shaker bits fall out. Oops, see, flip it right over. Nothing falls out. And now I'm going to get ready to attach my card base. I've got my ATG gun, and I'm putting my adhesive on the back of the foam. Now, for this one, I use my ATG. For the next one, I just use my glue, partly because I just ran out of ATG tape, but I found that I was going to use the glue over top anyways, because that gives me a little wiggle room, a little time to make sure I've got it on there straight. So I'm just going over the adhesive with my glue, and that gives me, I think, an added layer of protection to make sure that the card stays together, because it is a much thicker card than I normally make. And there's my card base, and I'm getting ready to attach it to the front panel. And I had to turn it backwards from me so that I made sure I had it right, it oriented right for the card. And then there's the little shaker, and I love it. Now here's the second one I'm going to show you. This is how I did the second one. And I did put the flamingos in opposite directions because I thought no matter how they shook, at least one of them would be upright. So I thought that would be okay. And now I'm going to show you that I used that little piece of paper for the first one. But if you didn't have any copy paper and you still wanted to make this card and not add any more bulk to the card, that there is a way to lay the back on to the front panel without that piece. So it is, possible to do. I really honestly think this one was an easier way to do it, but I like the fact, whoops, again, I went a little heavy with the stuff. I have got to start pinching with my fingers and putting it in. See, I'm learning, because if not, I just make a mess. But I think it was easier this way, and I think that when I do them the next time, I will just go ahead and put them in this direction and do them with this style versus the other, because it just seemed to work a little better for me. And again, then there was definitely no extra bulk at all to the card, because I don't use anything to cover the back except for the card base. And I put my beads in, my seed beads, because I just love them. And here I am, I'm showing you that I doubled up my foam, and I'm going to put the circle where it is on the card and then use that as a template to cut out my circle on my foam so I have it in the right place. And I just trace around it with my pencil, and then I get out my Tim Holtz scissors and go to town cutting that center out. And those scissors work great because they've got such a sharp point. And I will try to find some of his scissors and put a link in the description box for you. So if you don't have his scissors, I love them. You will be so happy if you get them. They're a workhorse, and they will never let you down. So getting my stuff back over here and getting all of my little bits pushed back in, and I'm getting ready to make sure I have it the correct direction, because I actually, tried gluing it once and had it the wrong way. So I learned she can be taught. So now I'm going to go ahead and put my adhesive on, going around my shaker pocket there to make sure that I get lots of glue and it gets adhered really well in that area, because again, you don't want any of your shaker pieces to come down in and slide down in on your base. It could pop your foam up or something off your card. So you got to make sure you get a real good seal around that area. And you'll see here, because of the glue, I've got a few minutes to work, and at the end here, you'll see that I'm even able to lift up that one corner, the top left, because I have my foam up too high. But once this glue dries, it's set. It's not going anywhere. So you need to make sure that, after it dries, you better make sure you've had it in place and where you want it, because if not, it's going to stay there forever. And I love that glue. I get it from maymaymadeit.com, and I will put a link to that glue in the description box for anybody that's interested in that. That is the best glue. It dries matte and clear. So I can't say enough great things about it, because there are times that I am awful heavy-handed with my glue. So here I am, since I ran out of ATG tape, I'm just going to go ahead and use my glue completely for this panel. And I have since shook those things and shook them, and my kids have shaken them to look at them and think they're awesome. And so this definitely stays. You're not going to have any trouble with this. Once it's down, it's down. And that's what makes it so great. And I'm getting ready to put the back on this. Now this is how I did the second set. This one, I don't put the paper down. I just attach the back to it and make sure that I've got it lined up, press it down well, and ta-da! There is my second card. I had so much fun making these. If you have any questions, leave them down below in the comments and I'll do my best to answer them. And I will be back shortly to do some envelopes for these cards. Thanks for visiting me today and happy crafting. Bye.